Hello world of YouTube. This is my first ever full-length video about Swans, and it's about To Be Kind, talking about it 10 years later. Hey there! While maybe not my entry point to Swans' sound, because I had been exposed to tracks from The Seer prior to its release, I didn't spin To Be Kind until after 2014 was well in the rear view, because damn, this was a transitional period in my life, and while I think Swans would have definitely fueled some of the darker mental places I had been in, I have a huge appreciation for music that is very disengaging like parts of this is. There's a real litmus test to some Swans records, and the quality of some sort of lies in the payoff at the end of some of those moments. To Be Kind is also an instance where some of that challenge is made all the more palatable because their iconic bold sound is pushed into a space where it actually has room to breathe, that lets some of the more intimate moments that the band also puts to record feel all the more close and unnerving. For as much as I love how dense everything sounds on tracks like Bring the Sun and the title track, I really enjoy equally moments like the opener Screenshot with its hypnotic, unnerving bass groove, which if I had spun this back when it came out and talked about it on the channel, I probably would have described it as a better sounding Tomahawk, which is easily my least favorite Mike Patton project. I also love how this production sheen doesn't neuter some of the sonic components that I think are intrinsically tied to this band's sonic character, like the guitar tone on Oxygen. You know, that unnervingness is matched, but it's put into a much more frantic place throughout that song, as Michael Gira, you know, screams out that he just wants to breathe. It does a good job at trapping the listener in this headspace, while again letting the sonic components breathe in the way that I don't think any Swans record up to this point had really done. That's also another track I probably would have said was like a better Tomahawk, because the lyrical construction of that feels very Patton-esque in some degree, but again, just miles better from a sonic and instrumental perspective, in my opinion. Along with that, moments like the opener to the second disc, She Loves Us, sees the band's more ambient, sort of stage building atmosphere also equally get its chance to be fully spread out. You know, the drums on that song are heavy as fuck, and they sound like classic Swans, but because they have room to breathe, all the nuance gets to dance around it in a way that I think is purely sublime. Things like the acoustic instruments sort of pairing together beneath the waves of noise on A Little God in My Hands also keep that uneasiness cemented in the listener and carries them throughout this experience, full stop. I also think that one of the things that helps sort of bridge a lot of the grandiosity and density and what helps sort of branch out from the uneasiness or the hypnotic, you know, sounds are some of the sort of through lines that lyrically sort of shine, because yeah, stuff like Oxygen and the opener Screenshot very much allude to talking about, well, in Oxygen, the sort of lack of that, especially with how the song is sort of constructed, and Screenshot's hypnotic nature almost feels like a sort of looming march to one's demise. I think that this album's true beauty is how it tries to highlight a lot of that, but also try to highlight a balance of life, not only through desire to push through that via the tribute to Michael Gira's daughter, Natalie Neal, but also how the sort of desires and passions, or at least the sort of innocence and desire for that innocence through the title track, I think equally bring some of that into a completely different world lyrically that I think is absolutely beautiful. Life and the monotony of it may be accented through moments like Some Things We Do, but all of its beauty and darkness and fragility also gets equally as highlighted, and it feels very much just this grand
dissection of the greatest passions people feel in life, all backed with the gaudiness that a message like that should have, which I think also lends to the powers within this record.
It lets a band that's always been so bold stand in a room where they actually fit, you know? I really appreciate what this record does at making a band like Swans a bit more palatable to those that have bigger problems with like harsher production, while not losing the sonic characteristics of what this band has going on, which I think is the biggest strength to this particular record. You know, while after the fact they sort of kept a lot of that production intact, there's a harmony struck between band characterization, you know, good payoffs and through lines throughout these longer sonic experiences that elevate this to that next level. You know, while I've liked Glowing Man and I thought parts of their last album were also pretty fucking choice, I just don't think that in the wake of this album's release they've yet to craft anything that has the same synergy across the board when it comes to all of those components. And obviously, a lot of the scene very much felt the same way. This is one of the albums that early on got an acclaimed 10 from Fantano back when that was even rarer.
It's a 10.
Got accolades across the board and ended up on my albums of the decade list because I do think it is just that well put together.
I think considering how wild Swans returning may have initially started out and where they were sort of shifting their direction with the Seer, I think that To Be Kind is the sort of follow-through that, in hindsight, the band needed to make to sort of make their horizons fully realized in a way that I think still has deep resonance, especially given how core and primal some of the lyrics on it sort of follow through on the record as a whole. And again, I know that that's not an uncommon opinion to have. I just wanted to sort of celebrate a record that I never got to talk about in the year that it came out and spread that appreciation for you. Do you like To Be Kind? Do you like Swans? What's your favorite Swans album? Sound off in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I drop 2 to 4 vids a week depending on what I've got going on. I'm going to go though. Thank you again so very much for watching. I've been Val Rack. You guys have good days, lots of situations, and I'll see you another day.